The panic attack happened during a staff meeting on a Tuesday afternoon. We were discussing the annual fundraising gala. I was the director of a small arts nonprofit in Seattle, responsible for everything from programming to donor relations to making sure the bathrooms had toilet paper, and my board chair was explaining that we'd need to increase our target by 20% this year while somehow reducing expenses. Rebecca, you'll handle the outreach, right? And the sponsorship packets? And coordinate with the venue? You're so good at juggling everything. I opened my mouth to say yes. The word was right there, automatic, the response I'd given to every request for as long as I could remember. Yes, I'll do it. Yes, I can help. Yes, I'll figure it out. But instead of the word, what came out was a strange gasping sound. My chest tightened, my vision tunneled, my hands started tingling. The room tilted sideways, and I heard someone say, "Rebecca, are you okay?" And then I was on the floor with people standing over me asking if they should call an ambulance. It passed after a few minutes. Panic attacks do, I learned later, but it was terrifying enough that I went to the emergency room anyway. They ran tests, found nothing physically wrong. The doctor, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, said, "Have you been under unusual stress lately?" "No more than usual." "What's usual?" "I work about 60 hours a week, run a nonprofit, volunteer on weekends, help out friends and family when they need things. Normal adult responsibilities." She looked at me over her clipboard. "That's not normal. That's burnout waiting to happen. Or in your case, burnout that's already happened. I'm going to refer you to a therapist. You need to talk to someone about stress management." I took the referral but didn't think I'd use it. I was fine, just overworked. I'd rest for a few days and be back to normal. Except I wasn't fine. The panic attacks kept happening. Smaller ones, tightness in my chest, racing heart, feeling like I couldn't breathe. They'd strike at random moments. When my phone buzzed with a new request, when someone said, "Can I ask you for a favor?" When I looked at my calendar and saw it completely full with other people's needs. So I called the therapist. Her name was Dr. Sarah Kim. She had a small practice in Capitol Hill, an office with plants and soft lighting and a chair that was more comfortable than anything in my apartment. "Tell me what brought you here," she said during our first session. I told her about the panic attack, about the ER visit, about the feeling of being constantly overwhelmed and exhausted and unable to keep up with everything everyone needed from me. She took notes, asked questions, then asked one that stopped me cold. "When was the last time you said no to something you didn't want to do?" I opened my mouth, closed it, thought about it. "I don't know." "This week?" "No." "This month?" "I don't think so." "Can you remember the last time you said no to someone who asked you for something?" I couldn't. I genuinely could not remember the last time I declined a request. My entire life was structured around saying yes. Yes to extra projects at work. Yes to helping friends move. Yes to covering coworkers' shifts. Yes to listening to people's problems at midnight. Yes to family obligations I didn't want to attend. Yes to everything, always. Because that's what good people did. They helped. They showed up. They were reliable. "That's a problem," Dr. Kim said gently. "Why? Isn't it good to be helpful?" "Being helpful is fine. Being unable to say no is not the same thing. That's not helpfulness. That's a lack of boundaries, and it's clearly making you sick." My name is Rebecca Chen. I'm 41 now, but I was 39 when I learned to say no. In the 18 months since, I've lost approximately half my friends, gained the reputation of being selfish and changed in my family, and discovered that most of my relationships were built on my usefulness rather than any genuine connection, and I've never been healthier or happier in my life. Dr. Kim gave me homework after that first session. For 1 week, I was supposed to notice every time someone asked me for something and pay attention to my automatic response. Not change anything, just notice. The results were startling. In 1 week, I was asked for favors, help, time, or emotional labor 43 times, and I said yes to 41 of them. The two I declined. One was a work meeting I had a legitimate conflict for, the other was covering a shift when I was already working a double. I felt guilty about for days. 41 yeses in 1 week, to things ranging from small, "Can you grab my mail while I'm out of town?" to significant, "Can you help me write my resume?" Most of them from people who never reciprocated, who never asked how I was doing, who only contacted me when they needed something. This is your pattern. Dr. Kim said in our next session. You've built an identity around being useful, being the person people can count on. And that feels good. It's validating to be needed. But you've confused being needed with being valued. Those aren't the same thing. But if I stop helping people, won't they stop wanting to be around me? Maybe, and that's information. If someone's only in your life because you do things for them, is that actually a relationship worth preserving? I didn't have a good answer. She gave me new homework. Say no to one thing that week. Just one. Something I genuinely didn't want to do. No elaborate excuse. No justification. Just, no, I can't. It sounded simple. It was terrifying. The opportunity came 3 days later. My friend Lisa, someone I'd known since college, close enough that we talked regularly, saw each other for dinner every few weeks, texted me, "Hey, can you dog sit for 2 weeks while I'm in Europe? You're the only person Cooper likes." It was the fourth time that year she'd asked me to dog sit. Each time was a week or more. Each time I'd rearranged my schedule, stayed at her apartment, dealt with Cooper, a neurotic terrier who barked at everything and had separation anxiety. I didn't even particularly like dogs. But Lisa was my friend, and friends help each other, so I'd said yes every time. This time, following Dr. Kim's instructions, I typed, "No, I can't." Stared at it, almost deleted it, and wrote something longer, more apologetic, with excuses about being busy or having plans. But Dr. Kim had been clear. No elaborate justifications. Just no. I hit send, and then spent the next 20 minutes with my heart racing, waiting for Lisa's response. It came. "What do you mean you can't?" "I can't dog sit this time. You'll need to find someone else or use a kennel." "But you never have plans. Why are you being like this?" I read that message 5 times. You never have plans. As if my default state was being available for whatever anyone needed, as if having my own time, my own life, my own priorities was strange or unexpected. "I'm not being like anything. I just can't do it this time." "Is everything okay? You seem really off lately. Did I do something to upset you?" This was the pivot, the moment where she made my boundary about her feelings, where saying no became me doing something wrong that required explanation and emotional labor to fix. "Everything's fine. I just can't dog sit." "Okay, I guess I'll figure something else out. But honestly, Rebecca, I'm kind of hurt. I thought I could count on you." I stared at that message for a long time. I thought I could count on you. Because I'd said no once, after saying yes countless times, after rearranging my life repeatedly to accommodate her needs. One no, and suddenly I was unreliable. I didn't respond. Put my phone down, sat with the discomfort, the guilt, the feeling that I'd done something wrong by simply declining a request. Later, I told Dr. Kim about it. She nodded. "This is going to happen a lot. People are used to you saying yes. When you start saying no, they'll react. Some will respect it. Some will try to guilt you. Some will get angry. And some will just drift away because they weren't actually friends. They were people who benefited from your lack of boundaries." That sounds lonely? It might be, at first, but it's also honest. You'll find out who actually values you versus who values what you do for them. That's painful but necessary information. She was right. It was painful, and it kept happening. My coworker Derek asked if I could cover his shift Friday night. I had plans to do nothing, which was still a valid plan, and I said no. He acted confused. "You're not doing anything, right? So you could cover?" As if doing nothing wasn't a legitimate use of my time. My sister called asking if I could drive her to the airport at 5 a.m., a 90-minute round trip, because she didn't want to pay for parking. I said no, she should take a ride share. She said I was being selfish, that family helps family, that she'd do it for me. She wouldn't. She'd never done anything like that for me, but pointing that out would make me the bad guy. My friend group had a regular tradition of getting together every Sunday for brunch. I organized it every week, made the reservation, coordinated schedules, sent reminders. One Sunday, I didn't organize it, just didn't send the messages. Waited to see if anyone else would. No one did. The group chat was silent. Sunday came and went with no brunch. Monday, someone asked what had happened and why we hadn't met up. I said I hadn't organized it and assumed someone else would. The response, "But you always organize it." Yes, I always organized it. Because if I didn't, it didn't happen. Because I was the unpaid coordinator of other people's social lives. And when I stopped performing that labor, the system collapsed. Over the next few months, I practiced saying no. Small things and big things. Declining requests that didn't work for me. Not volunteering for every project at work. Not offering to help unless specifically asked. Not filling every silence with offers of assistance. The results were dramatic. Some people, the ones who'd been taking advantage of my poor boundaries, got angry or confused or just stopped calling. My social circle shrank noticeably. Invitations decreased. People who'd texted me regularly went silent. It hurt. Even though Dr. Kim had warned me, even though I knew intellectually that these relationships were one-sided, it hurt to watch people drift away because I was no longer useful to them. My friend Rachel, someone I'd known for 5 years, someone I'd helped through a divorce, a job loss, and multiple crises, stopped responding to my messages after I declined to loan her $500. Just ghosted. Years of friendship, gone because I'd said no to one financial request. My cousin stopped inviting me to family events after I didn't volunteer to help with her daughter's birthday party. Didn't ask me to help. Didn't express disappointment. Just quietly removed me from the social circle. My work friends, people I'd covered for, helped with projects, supported through stressful periods, stopped including me in lunch plans after I stopped being available for last-minute requests. It was clarifying. Painful, but clarifying. I'd spent years thinking these were genuine relationships. Turns out they were transactional. I provided services, emotional support, logistical help, financial assistance, and in return, I got to be part of the group. When I stopped providing the services, the membership was revoked. But something else happened too. The people who stayed, the ones who didn't drift away when I started having boundaries, became closer. Because our relationships weren't based on what I could do for them. They were based on actual connection. My friend James, who I'd known from the nonprofit sector, didn't care that I stopped being available 24/7. We still grabbed dinner monthly, still talked about work and life and everything else, because our friendship had never been about him needing things from me. It was just friendship. My neighbor Mrs. Pak, an older Korean woman who I'd helped with groceries and technology occasionally, actually appreciated my boundaries. When I started saying, "I can't help this week, but I can next Tuesday," she respected it. And she started offering to help me too, bringing me food when she cooked, watering my plants when I traveled. Reciprocity, actual mutual support. My colleague Aisha from the nonprofit started inviting me to things after I stopped being the go-to problem solver at work. Later she told me, "You seem different, lighter. Before, you were always so stressed and busy. Now you seem like you have space for actual conversation." I'd been so busy saying yes to everyone that I'd had no space for genuine connection. My relationships had been functional, not relational. People asked me for things. I provided. We moved on. No depth, no reciprocity, just transactions. Setting boundaries revealed who'd actually cared about me versus who'd cared about what I could do for them. And the ratio was depressing. Maybe 1 in 4 relationships survived my transition from always says yes to has boundaries. My family was the hardest. My mother called me selfish when I stopped dropping everything to help with whatever she needed. My sister said I'd changed and wasn't the person she used to know, which was true, but she meant it as criticism. My relatives started describing me as difficult and hard to work with, which translated to won't automatically do whatever we ask. It was alienating. I'd grown up in a culture that emphasized family obligation, collective responsibility, taking care of each other. Setting boundaries felt like betrayal, like I was rejecting my culture, my family, everything I'd been taught about being a good daughter and sister. Dr. Kim helped me untangle that. You can honor your culture and still have boundaries. You can value family and still prioritize your own well-being. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. What you're pushing back against isn't your culture. It's the specific dynamic where everyone takes and you're expected to give endlessly without reciprocity. She was right, but it didn't make it less painful. I spent months feeling guilty, wondering if I was being selfish, questioning whether having needs was somehow wrong. The turning point came about a year into the boundary setting process. I got sick, actual flu, stuck in bed for a week, couldn't take care of myself. I needed help. Groceries, medicine from the pharmacy, someone to check on me. I made a list of people I'd helped over the years, people I'd shown up for, people who'd said, "I owe you," or "I do the same for you." Called them to ask for help. Most didn't answer. Of the ones who did, most had excuses. Too busy, not feeling well themselves, had plans, would love to help but couldn't. The people who showed up, James, Mrs. Pack, Aisha, the three people who'd never needed me to constantly prove my value through service. They just came, brought food, got medicine, checked in. Everyone else, the people I'd spent years helping, supporting, being available for, was suddenly unavailable the one time I needed something. That was the moment I stopped feeling guilty about my boundaries, because the friendships I'd lost weren't friendships. They were exploitation I'd mistaken for connection. I'm 41 now, 2 years since I started learning to say no. My social circle is smaller, my calendar is less full, my phone is quieter. Family gatherings are awkward because I've gained a reputation as the difficult one. But I'm healthy. The panic attacks stopped. I sleep well. I have energy. I've taken up hobbies I'd never had time for. Pottery, hiking, learning piano. I read for pleasure. I have entire weekends where I do nothing and feel no guilt. The relationships I've kept are real, reciprocal, based on mutual respect rather than one-sided service. I know who my actual friends are, not the people who liked having me available, but the people who value me as a person. Work is better too. I stopped volunteering for everything, stopped taking on extra projects to prove my worth. Surprisingly, my performance improved. Turns out doing fewer things well is better than doing everything badly. And my staff respects me more now that I model boundaries instead of modeling burnout. I went on a date recently, first one in 3 years, because I'd been too busy with everyone else's lives to have my own. His name is David, he's a librarian, and when he asked me out, my first instinct was to say, I should probably check if anyone needs anything that night first. But I didn't. I just said yes, because I wanted to, because I had the space in my life for something I actually wanted, instead of filling it with things other people wanted from me. On our third date, he asked about my life, what I did for fun, what I was passionate about, and I realized I had answers. Real answers. Not just, I help people, or I keep busy. Actual interests, actual preferences, a self that existed independent of being useful to others. You seem really grounded, he said. Comfortable with yourself. I like that. I almost laughed. 2 years ago, I'd been having panic attacks from being so overextended. Now I was grounded and comfortable. The difference was boundaries. The difference was learning that no is a complete sentence. I know some people think I've become selfish. My mother certainly does. Some former friends probably do too, and maybe by their definition, I am, because I prioritize my own needs now, because I consider my time valuable, because I don't automatically sacrifice my well-being for theirs. But I'm not selfish. I still help people. I still show up for friends. I still volunteer and donate and contribute to community. I just do it on my terms now, when I have capacity, when I genuinely want to, not out of guilt or obligation or fear of disappointing people. And I've learned to recognize the red flags of one-sided relationships. People who only reach out when they need something, who get upset when I'm not immediately available, who take without offering reciprocity. I don't invest in those relationships anymore. It's not worth it. Learning to say no cost me half my friends, a comfortable family dynamic, and the identity I'd built around being helpful. But it gave me something more valuable, myself. Time, energy, the ability to invest in relationships that are actually mutual, the freedom to pursue interests instead of obligations, health, peace. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Would I do it differently? No. I wish I'd learned this lesson at 20 instead of 39, but better late than never. If you're reading this and recognizing yourself, if you're the person everyone counts on, if you can't remember the last time you said no, if your calendar is full of other people's needs, I'm telling you, it's okay to stop. It's okay to have boundaries. It's okay to prioritize yourself. You're not being selfish. You're being human. And the people who get angry when you stop being infinitely available were never your friends anyway. They were people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Let them go. The space they leave will be filled by better relationships, by reciprocity, by actual connection, by your own life, finally lived on your own terms. My name is Rebecca Chen. I learned to say no at 39, lost half my friends, gained a reputation for being selfish, and discovered most of my relationships were transactional, and I've never been happier, never been healthier, never been more myself, because it turns out Saying no to everyone else meant saying yes to me, and that was the most important yes I'd ever given. If you've ever struggled with boundaries, or if you've lost relationships by finally standing up for yourself, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Sometimes the hardest part of self-care is accepting that not everyone will support it. And if you want more honest conversations about choosing yourself when the world expects you to choose everyone else, a like or subscribe would mean something. Thank you for reading and for understanding that no is a complete sentence, and using it doesn't make you selfish, it makes you human.